Karen had been humiliating the guard, acting as though she could do anything she pleased, until she learned a shocking truth. He was her relative. What happened next stunned everyone. London, a sunny day near Buckingham Palace. Hundreds of tourists gather along the metal barriers, snapping photos with fervor. Among them is Karen, a woman in her mid-30s, dressed in a pink suit that seems just a bit too tight. Her face betrays a faint expression of disdain for her surroundings, as if she expected something grander. In one hand, she clutches a coffee cup. In the other, a bulky designer handbag that seems more suited to a high-end boutique than the chaos of tourist life. Before her stands a motionless and dignified guard, a pale-skinned man around 30. His perfectly pressed red uniform gleams in the sunlight, while his bearskin hat adds an air of stateliness. He stares straight ahead, not blinking. The guard is the embodiment of discipline and order, a stark contrast to the noisy, restless crowd. Karen snaps a few pictures on her phone, frowns, and says loudly, "Is this it? Seriously? You're not even smiling? We pay taxes for this show." Her voice cuts through the noise of the crowd, drawing stares. Some laugh, while others begin recording, hoping for a spectacle. The guard remains unmoved, though a flicker of irritation crosses his eyes. He's used to provocations, but each one still manages to scratch at his composure. Karen, sensing the crowd's attention, takes a step forward, as if preparing to say more. Her face is a mix of challenge and impatience. "Hey, are you a robot? Maybe say something for once." She leans in, almost crossing the barrier. At this moment, a security officer, a sturdy man in a black uniform, intervenes, his tone firm. "Ma'am, stay behind the line." Karen rolls her eyes, clearly not ready to back down. "Of course, you're just here for show, like a decoration," she scoffs, waving dismissively before taking a few more pictures. The crowd murmurs, their opinions divided. Some disapprove of her behavior, while others laugh, encouraging her antics. Karen thrives on the attention, oblivious to the tension brewing. The guard remains rooted, but the atmosphere grows taut, like an invisible spring ready to snap. Unfazed by the lack of reaction, Karen pushes forward with her mission. She rummages through her bag, pulls out a banana, and waves it triumphantly in front of the guard. "What about this? Not even a banana can break you? You're a person, not a robot," she declares loudly, as though performing on stage. The crowd erupts in laughter. Cameras and phones are now trained on Karen. She revels in the spotlight, convinced she's a star. The guard remains motionless. His stoicism is regal, but the tension in the air is palpable. Karen, frustrated, lets out a huff and drops the banana at the guard's feet. The crowd gasps, and one man steps forward to intervene. "Hey, stop it. This isn't funny. They're just doing their job." Karen spins around, her face twisted in a sneer. "And who are you anyway? I'm a tourist. I pay for the show, and he's just standing there like a statue." Her tone is so brazen that the onlookers begin whispering among themselves. Some film her antics, while others mutter, "What a disgrace." Determined to push her luck, Karen ignores the security officer's warnings and crosses the white line. She steps right up to the guard, the crowd holding its breath in anticipation. Placing a hand on the guard's shoulder, she leans in provocatively. "Are you going to say something? Anything?" Her voice wavers slightly, but her audacity remains. Suddenly, the guard takes a sharp step forward and barks, "Step back!" Karen stumbles backward, startled, losing her balance and falling to the ground. For a moment, there's silence. Then a mix of laughter, gasps, and murmurs fills the air. Karen sits on the ground, her face reddened with humiliation and anger. "Are you insane? How dare you?" she shouts, her voice cracking with suppressed tears. "Do you even know who I am?" The crowd begins shifting its allegiance. Some cheer for the guard, others sympathize with Karen, but most shake their heads at her behavior. The security officer steps forward and addresses her firmly. "Ma'am, You violated protocol. Step away from the post. Covered in dust and seething with embarrassment, Karen scrambles to her feet. Her anger morphs into helpless fury, but she has no choice but to retreat under the disapproving stares of the crowd. Cameras capture every second of her downfall, ensuring her antics and her humiliation will live on the internet for years to come. Karen, still sitting on the ground, angrily tries to brush the dust off her pink suit. Her face burns with humiliation, but she refuses to back down. The crowd murmurs softly, phones still pointed at her, recording every moment. Struggling to her feet, Karen raises her voice above the whispers. "This is unacceptable. I demand an apology, maybe even compensation for this disgrace." She scans the crowd, searching for support, but instead of approving nods, she's met with disapproving stares. Someone shouts from the middle of the crowd, "Maybe you should learn to respect other cultures." The words hit like a slap. Karen opens her mouth to respond, but she's interrupted by a familiar, unexpected voice. "Karen? Is that you?" The crowd parts, revealing an older man with the bearing of a former soldier. It's George, her grandfather. His face is a mix of sternness and disappointment. The crowd falls silent, sensing a theatrical climax. "What on earth are you doing?" His voice is commanding. "You're disgracing our family." Karen blinks in shock. "Grandpa? What are you doing here?" George strides closer, ignoring her question. "The man you're harassing is your second cousin. His mother is my cousin." The crowd gasps, as though they've just witnessed a dramatic plot twist in a soap opera. Karen looks dumbfounded. "You're joking. That can't be true." The guard, breaking his silence for the first time, turns his head slightly and calmly says, "It's true." The words land like a final blow. Karen stands frozen, her face a mixture of horror and embarrassment. George shakes his head as the crowd buzzes with murmurs. Phones capture every second, ensuring the story will spread online like wildfire. Karen, pale and visibly shaken by the revelation, stammers, trying to explain herself. I didn't know. If I'd known." She trails off, realizing her excuses mean nothing. Every action she's taken has already been recorded by dozens of phones. George raises a hand, silencing her. His face is stern, his voice unyielding. "Enough excuses. You humiliated someone who stands for what I fought to protect." His words ring out over the crowd. "You owe him an apology." The crowd murmurs approvingly. Some begin clapping. The tide has turned decisively in favor of the guard and George, leaving Karen cornered in a way she never expected. Her gaze falls to the ground. Blushing deeply, she mutters, "I apologize." The crowd erupts in applause. Some shout words of encouragement, while others film the apology, commenting aloud, "Justice served." The guard, his expression calm and stoic, gives a slight nod, acknowledging the apology. Then, without a word, he steps back into position, adjusting his bearskin hat, resuming his post as if nothing had happened. His unflinching composure earns admiration from the crowd, who cheer for him as much as they jeer at Karen. George turns to Karen, his tone softening slightly but remaining firm. "I hope you've learned something. Tradition matters, and it will always be more important than your whims." Karen says nothing. Her head hangs low as she steps back, feeling the weight of the crowd's judgment. As the spectators begin to disperse, they chatter about what they've just witnessed. One tourist uploads a video with the caption, "The tourist who crossed the line, literally." Within minutes, the clip starts going viral, spreading Karen's public disgrace across the internet. The guard remains steadfast at his post, as though the events of the day never occurred. His figure once again stands as a symbol of British dignity and resilience, a reminder to all that true honor cannot be shaken.